At 100 miles per hour, the world blurs. Signs become streaks. Every movement sharper, more dangerous. Now imagine you're an officer closing in on a suspect who won't stop. Do you back off and hope they slow down, or risk everything to end it here and now? That's where the petit maneuver, the precision immobilization technique, comes in. A calculated tap to the rear quarter panel that can end a pursuit in seconds. Simple in theory, deadly if mistimed. The chases you're about to see happened on wet highways, crowded suburbs, and narrow back roads. Each required split-second judgment, flawless control, and nerves of steel. 3 chases, 3 pits at the limit, and 3 moments where officers had to ask themselves, do I take the shot or wait? But in that short time, the danger of disaster was huge. One wrong turn would have resulted in injuries. It is about midnight in Haywood County, North Carolina. The rain has passed, but the road is still wet, like a mirror that reflects the night sky and passing headlights. Most drivers at this hour are keeping it slow, cautious, but not the one about to streak past a deputy's cruiser at more than 100 miles an hour. The moment the black sedan flies by, the deputy's radar unit lights up. Triple digits. No brake lights, no hesitation, just a long streak of taillights shrinking into the distance. When the shift is quiet, the deputy can feel his pulse soaring. He puts the cruiser into gear, lights flashing, sirens screaming, and swings onto the highway to try and close the gap. The suspect does not take long to realize. He drives even harder instead of taking it easy as those flashing lights seem to challenge him. The pursuit has begun, and with such speeds, all that happens quicker than the human brain would want to permit. Component placement, and maybe even fatal to any individual on that highway. You can see from the dash cam footage the sedan is weaving through like it's running through an obstacle course. Tires on the right side touch the rumble strip, then swerves to the left, just barely avoiding hitting a slower car. Each near miss forces the deputy to make micro adjustments, always keeping just enough distance to react if the suspect loses it. There's an art to a high-speed pursuit. This isn't about matching the suspect's recklessness. It's about staying in control long enough for them to make a mistake. But here's the danger. At 100 miles per hour on a wet highway, the mistake might be fatal for someone else. For nearly a mile, it's a dangerous game of cat and mouse. The sedan darts into the left lane, then cuts across 2 lanes to the right, trying to shake the cruiser. The deputy's voice comes over the radio, calm but urgent, updating dispatch on speed, location, and traffic conditions. Every word matters. Somewhere down the road, other units are listening, possibly moving into position. Then it happens, the suspect sets up his own downfall. Approaching a long, sweeping curve, he drifts wide. Maybe it's overconfidence, maybe fatigue, maybe just the physics of slick asphalt at high speed. But whatever the reason, the back end of that sedan is now exactly where the deputy needs it to be. He makes his move. The cruiser edges closer, almost close enough to touch. The nudge is deliberate. Practice contact with the rear quarter panel just behind the wheel. The sedan's stability is shattered instantly. The back swings to the left as momentum pulls the rest of the car sideways across the lane. Wheeling tires protest in the quiet night air. The sedan crashes against the guardrail in a haze of headlights and movement. The crash is a shocking, crunching sound of twisted metal, shattering glass. The vehicle bounces back into the road before settling, and steam hisses underneath the hood. The deputy is already out of his cruiser. Adrenaline pumps, but the actions are automatic. The weapon is drawn, voice firm as he orders to go. The driver is left conscious, yet dazed in the shock of the violence of the spin. Backup arrives within seconds, lights flooding the scene with red and blue. Once the suspect is cuffed and secured, the search begins. In the back seat, deputies find drug paraphernalia. In the trunk, stolen property from at least 2 recent burglaries. The man behind the wheel, driving on a suspended license with a history of fleeing law enforcement. This pursuit lasted less than 4 minutes from the moment the radar hit to the final stop. But in that short space of time, the capacity for disaster was huge. One wrong step would have resulted in every person there getting injured or worse along that highway. Instead, precision driving, patience, and perfect timing turned a dangerous situation into a controlled takedown. When speeds climb past 90, the PIT maneuver becomes an all-or-nothing tactic. The officer has to read the road surface, consider the weight and balance of the car of the suspect, and keep an eye out on any additional vehicles that may end up as collateral damage. On most occasions, the most secure thing is to wait until the suspect does something wrong. In Haywood County, that mistake came on a curve and the deputy was ready. Pinecrest, Florida is a small suburban community located to the south of Miami. The type of place where weekday afternoons are filled only with the roar of lawnmowers and the splash of a backyard swimming pool. However, this piece is destroyed at a single moment when a black sedan runs a red light at almost 70 miles an hour. The trooper waiting at the intersection doesn't even need his radar to know this is trouble. The sedan's front bumper clears the crosswalk by inches as a pedestrian freezes mid-step, eyes wide in shock. The cruiser pulls out immediately, red and blue lights cutting across the sunlit street, siren wailing a warning to anyone within earshot. The driver doesn't yield. Instead, he presses harder, the sedan darting deeper into the neighborhood grid. Each turn leads him to still more dangers. Parked autos creeping along the curb, kids on bicycles, parents pushing baby carriages. In such a situation, the job of the trooper is as much concerned with the protection of the community as it has to do with catching the suspect. The radio chatter is active but steady. The trooper reports speeds climbing past 90, direction of travel, and road conditions. Other units are listening in, preparing to assist or block intersections if needed. But at the moment, it is only this single cruiser that stands in the way. The sedan swerves around a minivan, crosses the yellow line to avoid slowing down over a speed bump, and plows through another stop sign. The chase thunders by, with residents turning their heads as the sirens are echoing on the walls. The trooper keeps the distance, keeping the suspect in view, yet not too close to cause a rush into the traffic. Then the street ahead opens up a rare straight stretch with no cross streets for 100 yards. The trooper seizes the chance and calls it in. Pit authorized. He drives up so closely that his front bumper is on a level with the back quarter panel of the suspect. Timing is important, and this is too soon, and the sedan may recover. Too late, and the cruiser will hit a curb.
We're going about 80, setting up for a pit.
With a sharp, pointed nudge, connection is achieved. The sedan responds immediately. The rear tires slip, and the car swings through a cloud of dust and flailing rubber. The car skids into the median, jumps the curbside, and lands nose down against a palm tree in the yard of a neighbor. The trooper is out of his cruiser before the engine even settles into idle. Commands ring out, "Hands where I can see them!" The driver hesitates for a heartbeat, then complies. Officers move in, pulling him from the car and placing him in cuffs. It turns out this wasn't some getaway from an armed robbery or a fresh crime scene. The driver was running from a probation violation, a decision that turned an afternoon in Pinecrest into a high-risk chase that could have ended in tragedy. His reckless sprint through residential streets could have cost lives in a matter of seconds. In an urban environment, a PIT maneuver is the exception, not the norm. The threat does not consist only in how fast the suspect goes, but in all around him. The landscape becomes unpredictable because of intersections, people on the street, and parked cars. That means waiting till there is the one moment where the road ahead is open enough to process without danger. In Pinecrest, that moment was a narrow window, a rare straightaway in a tangle of residential streets. The trooper's ability to recognize it and act decisively made the difference between a safe stop and a potential disaster for anyone caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Thurston County, Washington, where a thick tangle of trees crowds so near the highway, and the air is filled with the fresh smell of pine. This morning, deputies are locked onto a stolen pickup truck that's been running from them for over 20 minutes. The driver is not driving as fast as he can, but he is driving like an idiot, weaving all over the road, crossing the yellow line, riding blind corners without a care about what is on the other side. The road itself in a run through the country is an ally of the man he is pursuing. No wide breakdown lanes, no grassy medians, but narrow asphalt with steep ditches and trees, which seemed like impenetrable walls. A single error can result in a rollover or fatal collision. The deputy in pursuit has already tried one pit. At the first opportunity, a brief straightaway, he edges close and gives the pickup's rear quarter panel a controlled nudge. The back end kicks out and fishtails down the lane, but the driver saves it. The truck comes straight, the brakes are flashing momentarily, and then it goes quick again, the roar of the engine increasing as it fades around another curve. The chase continues. Over the radio, the deputy's voice is steady, calling in speed and position. Another unit is moving to intercept from ahead, but out here, backup can take time. The responsibility to end this safely rests squarely on the cruiser's front bumper. Minutes later, another chance comes. The road widens slightly, just enough for a side-by-side approach. The deputy goes in for a second pit, harder this time. The collision shakes the truck onto the shoulder. Gravel and dust fly out in a broad arc, and the truck lurches and then bounces off the road, landing back on the pavement. Nevertheless, the suspect does not stop. Now adrenaline is high on both sides. The suspect pushes harder, the deputy closes tighter. This chase has already gone on too long, and every minute increases the odds that an innocent driver will round a curve into chaos. Finally, a third opportunity appears. The truck drifts just far enough into the center line for the cruiser to slot in alongside. This time, the pit is a textbook. The bumper strikes at the perfect angle. The truck's rear tires lose grip completely, and the vehicle spins more than 3/4 of a turn before coming to rest sideways in the lane. The driver wastes no time. He flings the door open and bolts for the tree line. But he's not alone out here. From the rear of the lead unit, a K-9 officer launches like a missile. In a few seconds, the dog is on top of the suspect, tackling him to the ground in a limb-by-limb struggle. Deputies rush in, and the man is arrested before he is able to do something. They find burglary tools, stolen items, and sufficient evidence to link the suspect to several property crimes when they search the truck. The stolen plates were only the start. In the end, persistence paid off. It took 3 pits and a K-9 takedown to end this pursuit, but the suspect's dangerous run through rural Thurston County came to a decisive stop. Not every pit works the first time. Skilled or desperate drivers can recover, forcing officers to adapt and strike again. The key is patience regaining position without losing control, keeping communication open with other units, and maintaining precision even when adrenaline is spiking. In Thurston County, the third attempt was the one that counted, but without the discipline to set it up properly, this chase could have dragged on for miles more with far greater risk to everyone involved. From the rain-slick asphalt of Interstate 40 to the sun-baked streets of Pinecrest to the pine-shadowed backroads of Thurston County, these chases show the pit maneuver at its most decisive. In North Carolina, patience turned a suspect's mistake into the perfect opening. In Florida, precision in an unpredictable urban grid stopped a dangerous run before it could harm others. In Washington, persistence and coordination ended a chase that could have stretched for miles. The common thread? Control. These officers didn't rush, didn't let adrenaline take over, and didn't force a pit when the risk was too high. They waited until intervention was the safest choice, then acted without hesitation. The pit maneuver isn't just about skill behind the wheel, it's about judgment. In the wrong hands, it can cause disaster. In the right hands, it ends chaos in seconds. Every suspect who gambles with lives meets officers ready to match their speed, read their moves, and shut them down before tragedy strikes. For those watching from home, remember, behind every pursuit is strategy, restraint, and a professional making decisions that can save lives. 3 suspects thought they could run. 3 pit maneuvers proved them wrong. Sometimes the only way to stop danger is to meet it head on.